Didn't have a primary script to play a role of a diseased child. Sit on your hands, just sit and look to Austria for help. And they go down the road which society suggests to them again and again. In Europe, you can forget about the doctors helping you. These are years, long years of hard work of professionals. God only gives you what He knows you can handle. You are doing great. It's all right. It's all right. Hello. What is autism? Where does it come from? The number of individuals with autism in the world is constantly rising and has already reached 2%. That's why the scientists are diligently fighting against this problem, trying to solve it. They have already found a chain of defective genes which cause autism. But why do these genes become defective and how to correct this? They still don't know. Watch our story about breaking through autism. Hello, Olga. Hello. What nice boys are there? Tell us about how did this disease appear? How did you learn about it? Tell us about Kiryushka. It happened that I went to my family doctor's appointment. He was supervising me during my pregnancy. When I came to the regular appointment, I had to leave Kirill with medical workers who babysitted him. And when I came back, they told me, your child can hear. How is it possible? They said he doesn't react. Kirill was 1 and 4 at that moment. Of course, I took my child and went out from the hospital. I called my husband. At that moment, I had already received an assignment to check my child's hearing. Our family doctor had written a prescription for this. In the next breath, my husband requested to be excused from work, rushed to us. We went to the hospital, checked the hearing. Everything turned great. My child could hear. I started to search on the internet, read a lot, and it turned out that it could be nothing but autism. My child didn't react at all. Didn't answer to his name. He was 1 year and 4. He could spend all day long sitting and watching the only cartoon. At that moment, it was Kikoriki. He played only with round objects, either with a ball or with something similar. He put them together, gathered them, but only the round objects. My baby didn't sleep at night. I cried my eyes out. I was crying for 3 months, wondering how could it happen that I had a baby like this. The questions rained down my head and I couldn't find answers. The only thing possible was the correction of the child's behavior and nothing else. Of course, I was devastated, but one phrase continued to pop up inside my head all the time. I heard it from my granny. God only gives you what He knows you can handle. And I had a thought, if God had the reasons to give us this disease, then there is the way to break through it. I was searching and searching and searching and searching, and I found a clinic in Israel. But we spent 1.5 years on Skype sessions with this clinic. Yes, we had certain results, but they were not that great. These were such results that the kid took a toy car and began to play with it. But there was no any consciousness in my child's eyes. He was doing this automatically as a robot. Often the parents who have kids with different kinds of disease turn to us. They come to us after visiting a lot of medical centers, spiritual gurus or mentors, after studying some practices or techniques. Some of them even turn to religion, but nothing gives them the particular result. Although they say that the children have some changes, they still behave automatically, and awareness doesn't appear. It's more like trained reflections. And Even after visiting such centers of spiritual development, the child still doesn't have awareness in his eyes and actions. When we work with the soul, we unpack it, take it out, and make it dominant in the psyche of a child. And precisely through the soul appears the consciousness in the eyes of a child. You can always determine the presence of the soul by looking into the person's eyes. It is beyond the capabilities of any practices, any techniques, any meditations, any ceremonies to bring the soul to center stage of a person. Then we found another guru, as I call him. We invited him to our place. We paid him a great deal of money. Nothing. You know, I even see a little problem in that the parents are so genuinely concerned about their children as they go to extremes. They are looking for a way out of the difficult situation, and they go down the road which society suggests to them. The first rake they step on is that they apply to the medical institution, because in the medical institution already exists an idea of disability of a child, that a child is disabled, that's who he is, and that he must be trained. They don't talk about awareness in the medical centers at all. It's not unmentionable in our society. So the parents stepped on the first rate. They have applied for the disability benefits, but they continue to look for the way out, and they start visiting psychics, gurus, attend different centers which combine traditional and non-traditional medicine, and so on. Thus, they throw big money down the drain because, again, in any of these centers, they don't talk about awareness. And the third rake they step on when they begin to appeal to different leaders, spiritual gurus who says, yes, let's talk about your consciousness, let's talk about your awareness, and as a result you can end up in a sect. But nonetheless, the awareness doesn't occur. Why? Because the person is lying to himself. Because the very first thing the parents should acknowledge that they are those who need to change. They are searching for the treatment for their child, and the main emphasis is on their child, and they need to begin directly from themselves, from their manifestation, from their realization, from their relationship, from their position in society, from their manifestation again, from searching for God inside them. That's how it starts. Yes, it's true. Traditional medicine has prescribed algorithms for everything. Parents usually apply to the specialists after a child turns 3. A speech therapist usually gives them some promises that the child would start talking later because he is a boy, for example. They wait and then come with a non-speaking child, with a screaming child, with emotional and behavior problems. And at first, we supervise the child, we watch the child, we work with him. A child completes rehabilitation, he attends additional classes in the development centers. It's true that this problem is for long years, but already at 5 years, the dots are starting to connect. But parents begin to notice autistic symptoms much earlier, even at first month or after 1 year. But autism is usually diagnosed after a child turns 5. Parents don't hurry to make a disability decision. They fight, work with the child, and accept him for who he is. But these are years of work, long years of work of professionals. This problem is for years. These kids grow up, someone with high intelligence, but more often most of them grow up with mental subnormality. And after we met this guru, almost immediately, almost in 2 weeks, we found Natalia, and she turned away. No, it's better to say that we asked about the details, but after such bad experience, we had already an idea in our head that this is some kind of, we say in Russian, scam. I got tense that we pay another sum of money and nothing will happen. Very often when people turn to us, they ask, do you think you are gods and you can turn awareness when no one else can do this? And I always respond to this, yes, we are gods. We are gods as well as all the other people. The only thing is that some people allow themselves to perceive, to feel, to communicate with their souls, to be sincere with themselves, to manifest themselves from the heart. And the other people don't. They put on false masks. They put on a guru mask, they put on a famous clinic mask, they put on an official representative mask, they hide behind their diplomas. And what about result? Let's talk about the results. But nevertheless, after this, we wrote to Natalia and she refused us. She refused us because we had a very strange karmic story. We had a monumental fixation, my soul, my husband's soul, and the soul of one of our grandmothers didn't agree to permit our child to be healthy. The very first thing we do when we contact the souls, we ask for permission. Do they want to change their life script? Do they want us to help, to interfere, to change the direction, the game plan? Because recovery is a change of a game plan. Because the script is written for the whole life, for 70 years at least, and here is the script would be totally changed during 2 years, and what to do during the next 68 years. And that's why this decision of the soul is a key decision in this case, and usually the souls agree, and this was one of the rare few cases when the souls were totally against. The souls would not even hear of it, and we had to spend time on making an agreement with the souls. Sounds crazy. As a result, I asked Natalia, maybe there is a way. And Natalia said, let's wait for a week. At first, when we began to work with this child, the soul showed us one karmic story. The soul didn't have a primary script to play a role of a diseased child. But then all the destinies of parents and of one more character, a woman, who just once met this child in the maternity home. But this is a totally different type of a play on the soul's level, and when they all met together, a mark has been activated which began to unroll into a totally different karmic play, and all these 4 lives began to follow a totally different game plan. Talia sent us a video that the souls gave their permission. I didn't watch this video alone. My husband was washing the dishes and I said, leave everything, come and watch the video with me. And we sat together and watched it, and despite that my husband is very careful about such kind of things, he stood up and said, that's it, let's send the money. And we sent the money, and just the next day we received the video of the work. And in this video, everything was described with our words, absolutely everything, that my husband was going to leave me after Kirill would get a little bit better. We already discussed this a long time ago, but nevertheless, we had a desire to patch things up as soon as possible. Kirill at that time already felt a bit better. But still there was no awareness. For example, you ask him to do something, and at first you need, for example, I say, Kirusha, let's put together a jigsaw puzzle. At first I had to show him how to do this, and now he does it himself. He takes it and does it himself. He's developing as an ordinary, normal child. He still has a little development delay, but the most important for me is that my younger son began to repeat after his elder brother and not vice versa. Kiriusha and Tigiriusha are rocking all the time. All their videos are stunning. Two brothers, all they ever do is creating. The mom got to keep an eye on them. This is the most important. After the work, the main problem for such kids is to toilet train them. In our case, my baby has learned how to use the toilet in a week on the both needs. Just in 3 days after the work, my child came up to us and said, "Mom and Dad," not to somebody else. He came up to me and said, "Mom and Dad," to my husband. Now he knows just few words, but he repeats a lot of words after me. You say to him, "Oh," and he repeats. He repeats the word drink. It means to drink. If he needs to pee, he says pee. Kiriush, say drink. Drink. Well done. Baby, call baby. Baby. He understands. His understanding of speech is 100%, and even half of the year haven't passed yet. On the 2nd of November there will be a half of the year since the work had been done. When we talk about speech development of a child, about intellectual development of a child, the time should be on the child's side. The younger the child is, the easier the development of his speech skills is. The neural connections in the brain get repaired. It is much easier to work with a child. The older the child is, the more time is required to recover the speech skills. The results are just great. We have entered an absolutely normal kindergarten with ordinary kids, though some people put a spoke in our wheel, saying that he was autistic. But when we went directly to headmaster of the kindergarten, she said, "We should check the adequateness of those who told you this." We were told that the child is absolutely normal for his 3 years. He looks absolutely normal, he doesn't speak, yes, but there are some children who don't speak at 5 and still suck a binky. Here, as in our custom to educate children right since birth, to involve them into English lessons, technical hobby groups, construction sets, Lego and so on. You know, to my utter amazement, while wandering the streets of Spain, I saw the 5-year-old children riding the baby carriages, and they were mentally healthy children. Parents put the binkies into their mouth to stop them talking and gave them milk in the feeding bottles. And there were not just 2 or 3 kids, there were a lot of them. And this plunged me into shock. Gradually, I was realizing that at first, occlusal disharmony is developing, secondly, the developmental disorder of speech organs, thirdly, the intellectual development is impaired, fourthly, it influences the physical development, and so on. Do you understand what it means? It is comfortable for parents to carry their big babies around, to keep them silent, but at the same time they have children. And this is a problem. This is a problem in the Western society, and I wouldn't want this problem to appear in our society. I have a very good speech therapist, and she noticed the results. Every time we come to her, she asks, "What have you been doing with your child?" The child is changing. The child is playing with the other kids. The child is developing. Yes, the child loves the tablet. I don't forbid him for a couple of hours a day. But he never spends all day long watching cartoons. He can watch it for 15 minutes, then go and play with his brother, go and play with his train. He is building a railway all by himself. He has a wooden railway. He does everything by himself. We don't have any problems with falling asleep. If we say that it is time to sleep at 9 o'clock, then we all go to bed and fall asleep. If I say it's time to eat, then he sits down at the table and eats. We don't have such situations when we need to feed the child, to force him to eat. No, I never make him eat. He eats what he wants. If he doesn't want to eat, then he doesn't want to eat, and then he doesn't eat. My child has changed by 100%. My younger son doesn't speak yet, but this is also our karmic story. Of course, as we were such great, wonderful parents, as I say, I was doing my best and my husband was doing his best. And when we realized the Kirill's problem, we decided to christen him. And we grabbed our children and took them to the church on the nearest Saturday or Sunday, told to make nootropic injections, and we did. We finished 2 rounds of injections. Thus, in other words, we did as much harm as we could. Almost every person can find in his past situations when he'd been through the scenes of mass violence, murders, when there were crusades, burning at the stakes, when there were dark cells, crucifixions, challenges, wars, and so on. And very often all these occurred on the religious basis, very often. That's why any ritual, absolutely any ceremony, is able to activate the trauma from previous reincarnation. And in this case, this trauma coincides with the current life. A person can suddenly develop some disease in this life. It can lock out the development of neural connections in the brain. Something irrecoverable might happen. That's why we always say vows, rituals, oaths, and so on. Leave all this aside. Children don't need this. They will grow up and swear if they want. They will get christened if they want. They will enter a ritual cult if they want. And now, while they are still kids, and furthermore, when they already have autistic symptoms, you should release them as best as you can from this, so they remain pure and free. The results are brilliant. Due to Natalia, due to InfoDiver's team, my family has changed. My family's belief system has changed. My children have changed. I'm also very grateful for my parents. This is another story. My parents, who had completely refused to change, they changed from A to Z. What else I wanted to say? I wanted to address myself to the parents who have found themselves in the same situation. Don't get lost. Don't give up hope. Continue searching. There's always a way out. Turn to Natalia. It would be much quicker than in our case. Develop yourselves. Grow spiritually. Follow our direction. Yes, we still have a lot of self-improvement work, but if I continue to change, my kids will also change. My child began to talk. As I say, my child better starts talking later, but all the problems preceding speech will disappear. Developing his speech skills is bonus for me. Once, during our work, we have found such an element in the consciousness and body of a person where the connection is formed between the organs of articulation, vestibular system, visual apparatus, and all the other organs of perception. And we've discovered how the breakage is formed on this level. Where does it happen and how is it possible to repair? And now we are actively using these speech recovery techniques, and we see the results. We see the improvements simply in a couple of days. We enter the brain of a child through our consciousness, and we literally create the vocal apparatus. This tiny note, which we've discovered, we created with our consciousness. The child plays with toys, plays correctly. We've begun to role-play, which is very important. Role-play games push forward intellectual development. In the kindergarten, the child also began to play with kids. For example, he can feed somebody, put somebody into a toy car. Autistic children are not capable of doing this. Game skills don't develop immediately. At first, kids learn how to manipulate the objects. They enjoy holding them, putting them from one hand to another. They explore the objects thoroughly. They adore to spin them or twist or to put one by one in a line. So these are such manipulative actions with the subjects. It is simply unconsciousness. until the role play appears. For example, when we bath a doll or put the lodging into the truck. This imitation, which even a 1-year-old child is able to repeat, autistic children would develop during a very long period of time. A very long time. They are not able to do this after somebody. If it is a very long process of development and training of such game, our physical development is on top. On the playground, my son at 3 is able to climb the ladder really high, and it's not a ladder at an angle, it's an upright ladder, and he can get down on his own. He can walk up the stairs very well. And it's not like he used to do before, when he made a step and then stepped back. Now he steps with each of his feet. So everything is well in this area of development. What else? He puts together a jigsaw puzzle, draws. He likes looking through books. He can't read yet, but he enjoys watching them through, and this is a huge progress for him, as in year and 6 he could take a book, thumb through it, then turn it upside down and thumb through again, and he could spend 2 hours doing this. A child in year and 6, when he is supposed to run and jump. What else? He had a round toy with white paws, and he could grab this toy, lay in his bed, and suck the paw of this toy. Unextinguished sucking reflex. Both children and animals can have it. If the mother is breastfeeding her child for quite a long period of time, then this reflex is extinguished with the time, and he doesn't need anymore to take anything into his mouth. The grown-ups are sucking too, just recall the Saakashvili style. But if we talk about animals, a kitten. We have found an abandoned kitten in the forest, and this kitten had been separated from his mother cat. He was very little, too little, and he still lies down and sucks. He sucks, he pretends that he's sucking his mother. And when the mother is conscientious about her child, she breastfeeds the child for a long period of time, for 2.5 years. This is normal, and the reflex will be extinguished. The problem for such kids is that they take everything in their mouth. We have taken tons of bioactive complexes, of antiparasitic complexes. We've done colon cleansings lots of times, but none of this has given such a result like after Natalia's work. It all has dwindled to nothing in just 2 months. Tranquility came to our family. The child began to be interested in everything. On the 2nd or 3rd day, the child simply woke up. The topic of parasites in our society is extremely active and schizophrenic now. Take any disease, any psychic would recommend, you must pass the deworming program. What if these are not worms but lamblia, or bacterium, or fungus? And the frightening of people begins. Here only bioresonance therapy can help. All the eggs in one basket. Sometimes there is lies, sometimes there is truth. In this case, if you talk about parasites, they have nothing to do with autism. But if they are inside the body, you can turn to the official medicine, take the ordinary medical pills, clear it with your doctor, and get your body back to normal. And this is right. You don't need to make it up. When we came to the psychologist for the first time, we were told, Faral Petrenko, I just say it in Russian, sit on your hands, just sit and look to Austria for help. Well, I just want to tell everyone, in Europe you can forget about doctors helping you, because here there is nothing except a speech therapist once a week and a teacher who comes to your home for 2 hours a week. There is no other help here. That's all. Just all. We passed no other examinations beside ECG of her head. No MRI was done. The only thing I want to mention, we made urinalysis, and the results came in a year and a half, and they said they want to examine my child. I couldn't stop laughing in the clinic. I thought they would send me to the mental hospital. I said, do you think I would sit and wait for a year and a half until you examine my child? So the parents shouldn't look for help in Europe. They would find nothing here. We also had another problem. Our child used to follow the same routes. He got stuck on the signs. He freezed in front of the running letters. After the work, this all just faded away. But it was very difficult. It was difficult in the stores. It was really hard. He used to grab everything from the shelves, plunk it down. Now, when we visit the stores, my boys take what they want and put it into the cart. And the scariest thing was that my youngest son repeated everything after his brother. This was the scariest. We were concerned for that we would also need a behavior correction for our second child. But thank God. How do you feel? Where did autism come from? Why did it happen to you? I had always had a feeling that there are some other different worlds, other forms of life. I have always had this on my mind. I don't even know why. I had a feeling that the God just couldn't give us a challenge like this. The God loves us. He just couldn't. But then, where did this problem come from? All my nearest and dearest hinted at the cervical spine, that I should have given him massages before he turned 1 year old. And I had an inner feeling that no, the problem is not about traditional medicine. I should look for an answer inside me and to begin from myself and to go with that. And that's how we followed this way. We have found a Reiki healer. She told us that the child would speak as an ordinary one after he turned 3. Then we turned to this Israel clinic where they told us that everything would be alright. They told us you should work on yourself, but no one told us how. No one has told us about karmic stories. No one has told us what to do. As Natalia spoon feeds material to us in the chat groups, do it like this and do like that. It's quite simple and understandable here. When I received the video of work, I guessed that it all had come from karma, begun from karma. And if you don't finish your karmic story, it is useless to continue doing anything. The child won't get any awareness, nothing. Did the relationship between you and your husband improve? Our relationship have changed greatly. We used to even fight with each other before, but now we don't even have any quarrels, any arguments at all. We are never at odds over anything. We protect each other when somebody speaks ill on any of us. We speak in support of each other. We didn't do this before. We have very good relationship with my husband now. I speak honestly as it is. After finishing the karmic story, the souls decide themselves how it's gonna be, to break up or to stay together. And most commonly, they decide to stay together. There are even situations when, after the work with the karmic story, the souls change their game plan completely and they begin to create business together, to build new relationship. Sometimes they even decide to have more children. The totally different game begins, absolutely new life. The life changes. I'm not ashamed for this. I'm proud of awakening this, of comprehending this, and we used to be on the edge of divorce. We already agreed on getting divorced after Kirill would feel better and go off in contrary directions. And now we don't even think about this. What are your plans for future? As to my kids, of course I have great plans for my kids. I want them to become wonderful people and to achieve such success in this life, which we couldn't achieve in our lives. As to my plans, I want to have more children. I want to enlarge our home, of course, to develop spiritually. I want, of course, I'm practicing info diving. As to children, I can see 2 more kids in my life. What else? I want to open a child's health center here in Austria. Why in Austria? Because here are no such centers. In infodiving, we work with mothers from different countries. In fact, people from all over the world have already asked us for help. And all of them have the results. As a matter of fact, which mom could better explain, share, teach and help another like mom than the mom who had already been through this, who had already managed to help her child. That's why we appreciate the development of such centers according to our system, which will combine the best developments in medicine, psychology, psychiatry, and in extrasensorics as well, for the kids to have the results. Because one thing is to turn the consciousness on, and another thing is to help the child to develop and to make up for the lost years. And I would love to create a kindergarten in this child's health center. And first of all, I would like to invite physically disabled children. Why so? Because here, if the child is disabled, everyone begins to perk his finger at him to say what is wrong with him. I consider it is beyond the pale. The child should exist in a normal society. Then he will develop normally. Why are you singing out today? He wants on camera. He just wants on camera. Show Natasha what you can do. That's so great. Well done. That's a good boy. Good boy. Natasha, they do everything. For example, I set out the table. They help to put spoons, forks. All this is done by the kids. We act as a team. We don't have such situations when kids are in the living room and we are busy with something. Our life has turned around due to you, to be honest. I'm really very grateful. I'm grateful for myself, for my family, for my parents. You did so great. You shared such information. Thank you, Natasha. Thank you. Goodbye. See you. This story is another provement of our theory. Only if you make the soul dominant in the person's psyche, you will be able to lead him out of autism. Watch the other amazing stories in the following videos.